So I'm going to read some pieces, and then Thomas, and then both of us collaboratively. This is from a longer work called Excavation. It's so humid that I've cut off my jeans, making them into shorts, or to speak from a contemporary lexicon, jorts, which sounds more punchy and jovial, as it must look as I sit here, slyly procured in a wheelchair that I sat on after I procured it the only way you can, at the Art Institute of Chicago, tucked under Joan Mitchell's 1965 city landscape, squatted like a cement mason on a lunch break, eyes directly on the bottom left corner of Willem de Kooning's Excavation. A patiently but subdued ribbon of white wriggling within the small and eager tricklings of black dusted air. I am attempting to control the painting in my mind and on the page. To do so, I shall speak of it often in speckles, beginning with the corners and what controls its entirety in terms of borders. However, and in order not to suggest excavation can be extrapolated strictly from, by, or in place, the title an integral nod toward the creation of the piece doing just that on its own, I shall begin with what certain hues offer, the size of de Kooning's contained strides, and the direction in which each plush and dignified push of the brush takes. The lower left corner is skeletal white, as if the long point of the utensils de Kooning used disintegrated upon wear and took from the tip of the bones on his fingers a true and tenacious tilt. Immediately to the right of the white, a fervency of red splashes down flat like a cut-off triangle. A small hutch turned over in the near joyous flames by the beginning of the black that makes ceiling of the lower left white. The black, in turn, is the top half of the letter H, which, as glanced at in this manner, is also the shape of a small body turned upside down, perhaps presenting itself as the figure of a diver, or one escaping the tumult of the excavation. Excavation in this sense as a whole, including the excavation of the self, the city, the land, the culture. And in such descent, the feet are taken over. The back right foot retreats from the borders of the frame, while the back left is caught in what is the same tone of red below, but has here spilled, shattered, and thus splits out and flecked diligence against the small cacophony of temperamental tints the entire painting takes up. On the splotch of red, quite easily a blood-drawn and reflective peck. An end to what must have been a long dribbling line of black has attached its exit into the puddle, as if submitting to the small but warbled fury the heeled-down red drags capaciously out. Upon tracing the black line up, a bleak and disparate image scurvies thin into pace, leaning into but not touching the border. Here the previous dribble and exit spoken of become the toe of a lonely but resilient figure stepping back into the painting, traipsing as if shorn by the recalcitrant winnowing of a desert sharp slanting sun. What accompanies the figure are the elegant and demure cadences of a pink and off-white crackle of oils that heavily suggest a mirage, but simultaneously flake east and west of the figure as if winded and worn by the figure's long haul through the suspected desert, or what seems to me more like rustled, undiscovered fields. This field thought, partially influenced by what is said to be an inspiration for the entire painting, Giuseppe de Santisa's 1949 Italian neo-realist film Bitter Rice, further follows the instinctual energy having arisen in the exploration of two small figures already in descent. Descent here hollows the form of wandering. The feeling of oneself rushed briskly yet calmingly through a bristle of long weeds is at the heart of contemplation. Carrying many considerations inside one's head, inside the body that makes low and melodious sweeps with the natural breeze-buffed weeds. The second figure, with a long leaning neck, steadily takes the shape of either a camel or an ostrich upon first stare, making desert references more inclined to surface. The sprawling blood attaches the figure's feet, lending the red to a platform stance. The veins as rushing necessities of the human reversed into the exterior grounding of those both coming and going. To introduce a third figure, I want to stress the relevance of the corners in excavation, here the bottom left. These figures lean in and out of the corner, almost as though they have at once been given the go signal at a crosswalk, but are all going in different ways, the peripheral bliss of going ahead in all ways. Here the excavation really begins, the disbanding of chaos in that disbanding at once opens the space and allows for singular journeys into place while it is being dug up. The third and perhaps most discernible figure is separated from the second by the long haul of a straight-brushed gush, which carries along the creamy hue a carp's damaged yellow bellywood and a waterfall's rushing and bubbling over it. The gender of the third figure is debatable, for the crotch region bears an abstraction of yellowing in an indefinable shape. The figure is leaning against the aged dairy wall, almost from the stance a lonely western cargo might imaginably take on the sunny afternoon steps of a poorly populated pawn shop, left leg up, tipped on its toe. If examined as against this wall, and as received as wall, the face is turning and flattened, scaled back into the painting, not ready to have surfaced or to be cornered in the drab. Two long and rather alien lines are completely linked to the left leg, pulling it back into the source, strung to an even thinner line that leaps deceivingly back into the convoluted vortex. The longer, thinner line also connects with what seems to be the mouth of the figure, excavation through the throat, or even the incapability of the self to escape everything, even in the act of excavating, literally digging, thus physically discarding as one would an unwanted meal in the throes of a flu. Digging here is fully an outward gesture, but one that lays bare, although rarely, the devices that were used in bringing things such as the figures into part-time forefront. Behind the wall of the third figure, and at the top of the second figure's head, a deeper layer of black lays into the scene, with a vertical streak of red upon its center, perhaps the door these figures arrived in. This the beginning. Today I've sat with the three figures of the very lower left corner, most likely 1/100th of the entire canvas of excavation. Their stance is indicative of some descent into the dig, some escape that such excavation brought upon de Kooning, and de Kooning in turn dug up for us, an assiduous swing from a bulwark swagger. In the sweeter moments gnocchi was underdone, and how the sautéed carrots cut through sauce I knew you. Was the gown a shadow upon? I am dismembering well the severed neck of something stunning in a coup. Pressure is a prank. Please treat me later. That is a helping. Good. Perhaps your America is torn, somewhat emigrating. Still, the belt and the bonkers parrot pushing nothing but gore from tongue. We brought, we brung, we brung. Glass extracts me, and then you, oh so liquid. Nobody came out that door. We ponder the corpulent bustle and in scene do a shatter dance with a delicate commentary on wind. I impart coal forming over. To advise the arm behind the lever to relax and finger down an engine. These were all our positions when trying on flesh. The clothes, no. I forgot my abdomen was an ocean undergoing many unmotorized wrecks. Fucking clouds fled, said fuck 'em up. Your skin on trampoline, business of making shadows unwelcome. I too wore a velvety outlook on interchange. The spasm of the right eyelid reminding me, mining me, I am mine. Two turtles cloyed my sandbox. Purposeful, the spittle when a shell is on. Too sorry, the sentimentals, the bivouac we binge in, binoculars full on the instruction booklet of how to take a day down. World War II planes with the shark teeth, crispy and aperitif gingerly. This would be us in smoke. Separate ways of pushing the cart. The foundation is built starting with laborers who throw a board around the sea, wheeling the cement and flat out smacking it down. The veterans groom the frame, and sooner how your wicker chair will rock 20 feet up. Maybe you'd love to look at the baby pictures. And purple got in here. Must have been my wife. The matter of speaking what's the matter I'm not speaking. Solo your shadow in sun chorus. Yes, red, be blood and come back. Elemental moment of sliding down nude. Formula for shucking the calm. Perhaps a delicatessen where I ear. Two of them turning in opposing directions, hearing same things. I gather you mustn't do such things in the arena. Part of me put a name down here, tried a labeling in the waiting. Ornamental grudge of introduction, what was it you wore in saying I was with you? Many, many small calls from the screen door. Separation of a stutter, and the diamond net we regret having pushed many bugs into. Blot on finger. Forward for the grapple, The washing of the hands, the time we left polenta in for an hour, and how the mushrooms bloomed on the field. Movers are shaking. Somebody willed me a fortune. We have been dancing. The ground left with our heads and shoulders rolling over into the rolling and over. Skin buckles into bone. The crackle beneath is a smooth boom into the chandelier, corsets cut, breasts expunged from the pressing of a long-drawn dress. Maybe you knew me in the rendering, feet off the dock. In the chime and strum, a high-rise calls down the street light, hums, the coat comes inside the hide. I am like limbs, unlike the blood a winter carves its invisible vapors from. The wheel we tied to our sitting is to make another night something outside of in. Not a two-step, not an alarming jolt in the string's scarved gland, but an average gust upon the dimming down. We have been dancing, and lightly. That is the scarecrow rumbling the motes of corn. This is the cloak unhung with my cone hat climbing out of the stalks. The cut is in the leg. These two red men are brethren. You were complete and swirling in my cortex. The V-necks is hung back like leggings, and then these are really 4 feet that I'm going to party with. You keep putting America in the basin of the stroller before we collect our canned goods. I told you about storing up for the winter. I told you I have an invisible splinter drumsticking the nightstand so that I never sleep. But this is a dance, too. This is much symphony, much pasture for the dreamer's lapse and mime. The shape I am holding is what I become when alone. The soil, and for whom are we? I will get us together in a box and stay the night in the field. You would say prairie or pasture. Things that are open that we try to fill with physical actualities of growth offer more definitions than manageable, yet always from the buttery viscera of the heart. Look at the turn of the ghost I'm dancing with slide down a line of wind. Pearl ribbons. I just wanted to say that. The parts of the city we don't talk about always look like men conducting from the mast of a right triangle their concerto. Do you remember when Father controlled the yard 1 day a week? I used to document the way every tree around our house, every bush in our yard would defy Father on the other 6 days. Often the grass drew itself into thick patches to mock the rocks. The phone rang on and on, twice a day, and I reacted to it because it worked. Then the willow attenuated the protein of the low cloud we left the oak under, or how the bush along the walk told me how to treat my first girl. Maybe we wanted the action of still figures to be more flexible in terms of understanding how to dance. I am dance. This twisting bristles me with shivers, the head coming off game. The instrument I cart in my bag is a bulbless chandelier. Light crops from dirge. You split out everywhere to be with me. Thank you.